they were destroyed when they turned their desire toward angels. And judgment followed. Long before mercy had a name, fate was decided early, especially for cities that forgot where the boundary lay. Long ago, in the ancient East, there stood two cities, Sodom and Gomorrah. They rose from fertile land, near rivers, near trade routes, near abundance. Merchants passed through their gates. Caravans rested in their streets. Gold flowed freely. Food was plentiful. Pleasure was never far. These were not desperate cities. They were comfortable ones. And comfort, when left unchecked, has a way of dulling the soul. At first, the laws still mattered. Customs were observed. Guests were welcomed. The old rules were respected. But slowly, almost gently, things began to change. Hospitality, once sacred in the ancient world, lost its meaning. Strangers were no longer protected. The weak were no longer sheltered. What mattered was desire, impulse, the will of the crowd. In the ancient East, to harm a guest was among the greatest of sins. To violate hospitality was to declare war against heaven itself. And Sodom forgot this. Among its people lived a man named Lot, a foreigner, an outsider. He had chosen to stay because the land was rich, because the city promised safety. But each year, that promise rang more hollow. Lot saw the cruelty grow bold. What was once whispered was now spoken openly. What was once hidden was now celebrated. And still, life went on. Until one night, everything changed. Two travelers arrived at the city gates. They looked like men, dust on their feet, silence in their eyes. But something about them felt wrong, or perhaps too pure. Lot noticed at once. He rose quickly. He bowed, and he insisted they come under his roof. Not out of kindness alone, but out of fear. Because he knew what the city had become. As darkness fell, the streets filled. Men gathered, voices merged, intent sharpened. The travelers had been seen, and the crowd wanted them. Lot stood at the door. He pleaded. He begged. He reminded them of ancient laws, of honor, of restraint. But Sodom no longer listened. The crowd demanded what was forbidden, not merely bodies, but the divine itself. That was the moment. Not when fire fell, not when the sky opened, but when desire rose beyond its place. Then the travelers revealed themselves. The house was filled with light. The crowd outside was struck blind, unable to see, yet still reaching. Lot was warned. "Take your family," the angel said. "Leave now. Do not linger. Do not look back." Because judgment had already been passed. As they fled, the night grew heavy. The air pressed down like a held breath. Even the stars seemed to withdraw. Then the sky broke. Fire and sulfur rained down upon the cities. Not in rage, but with finality, like a sentence being carried out. Streets vanished. Walls collapsed. Voices were swallowed. Sodom burned. Gomorrah burned. And history closed its eyes. Lot ran. His daughters followed. Behind them, everything they had known was erased. Then one figure slowed. Lot's wife. She turned, and she became a pillar of salt. Not as a punishment of sight, but of attachment. She looked back because part of her still belonged to the city, to its comfort, its familiarity, its false safety. By morning, nothing remained. Only scorched earth, only silence. The land became barren, as if even memory had been burned away. For generations, Travelers spoke of the place with fear, not because of fire, but because of the lesson. Sodom was not destroyed because it was sinful alone. Many cities were sinful. It was destroyed because it erased all limits, because it confused desire with right, because it reached upward without humility. This is not a story about ancient people. It is a warning written in ash. Because every civilization faces the same test, and the line, once crossed, never moves back.